But let's talk about, so before we get into the Erica Jane stuff, let's talk about Potomac. Because I just finished watching part 2 of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion, and OMG, I cannot wait for the fact that we now like, I think this is the longest reunion we've ever had. We've had the 3-part reunions in the past, but I don't think we've ever had a 4-part reunion. This isn't a 4-part reunion, but the 3rd part is going to be 90 minutes long. I don't think we've, correct me if I'm wrong, but to my recollection, we have not had a 90-minute part of a reunion that's part of like a 3-part series. So it looks good. It looks juicy. We already know we're going to get some heat between the Chris's next week, the 2 husbands. I have to say, I'm really starting to empathize with Monique a lot more compared to before. I mean, I felt really badly for Candice once the altercation first kind of happened. But then as the season went on, I'm like, but Monique has no remorse. And I was like struggling. So I'm like, Monique, like, you're in the wrong, but like all you have to do is like have a little ownership and accountability. And I think you'll win over the audience a lot more. But after watching everything that played out in this reunion, you can tell the editors are definitely team Monique, because when all the women were like, that didn't happen, and even Andy was like, there's no footage of her waving a broken wine glass in your face, and then they show all of the clips and the montage. Because I saw prior to watching the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 2, there was a lot of heat on Twitter that Andy was getting. A lot of people were saying that he was gaslighting Monique. A lot of people were saying that he was definitely biased towards Candice, and that there were so many moments where he was like, that wasn't caught on camera. That obviously wasn't shown. And then the producers pulled out all the receipts and they slowed everything down, and everything that they showed backed up Monique's account of what actually happened, to show, because I mean, look, I feel badly for Candice, but at the same time, I just feel like she has no accountability. I mean, Monique did, like, I feel like they can both own a lot more accountability. Monique obviously has said that she feels badly, but at the same time, I think Monique's frustration is with the fact that Candice is just like, I did absolutely nothing wrong. I didn't do a damn thing, and Monique just attacked me out of nowhere. And when you see the unaired footage where, Candice is yelling at her, calling her a ghetto ass bitch and saying that she's about to be fired and all this stuff. So that's why Monique was like getting hyped up when you see her behind the door in the hallway, and the producer didn't want to open it up because like obviously there was still tension kind of building in the room. Not saying what Monique did was right. I think Monique was still, in the wrong to go physical first. But when she's like, but Candice put her hand in my face, and they're like, that didn't happen. And then you see the footage of Candice actually going like that to Monique and putting her fingers right underneath her chin, like swinging her hand in her face. You're like, okay, well, like, Monique wasn't technically wrong. Like, everything that Monique said is checking out. And I just think Monique and Candice are very different at processing their emotions. So for me, I was kind of just like, why is it okay for us to accept that Candice is hurting, and when she hurts, she cries and obviously acts out in the way that she did with filing her suit against Monique, and then, trying to, I mean, I guess it's unfair to say she was trying to send her to jail, but like, come on, what were your intentions in doing that and saying, I don't care if she goes to jail? Obviously, you had some sort of, motive there. But I just think, because Andy he was really coming at Monique. And you can tell Andy is definitely on Candice's side of this whole thing, probably because I don't think he wants to endorse physical altercations on the show, even though it's kind of become part of the Housewives brand at this point. We started with the table flip. We've had several other physical altercations that he hasn't really held people as accountable in the past for as he is doing Monique right now. And he really came at Monique and he's like, you don't seem to have much emotion. You don't seem to really be feeling anything right now. And she's just like, I already processed my emotions. You guys missed all of that. You didn't show me struggling or dealing with the aftermath of this or having any emotional reaction to it because, Candice was doing waterworks and she was crying. And that's not to say that Candice's feelings aren't valid. And that's not to say that Candice isn't still struggling and her crying. That's not to say that it's looking for attention. I think some people may make that argument, but I think she definitely has emotions and she processes them differently. And the fact that we're really looking at Candice and empathizing with her or sympathizing with her a lot more because her reaction is to be more emotional and Monique's reaction is to be, you know, not as emotional. Like people process things very differently. And I don't think it's fair to just dismiss Monique's reaction as insignificant or as she doesn't have any. I mean, I guess she doesn't really have much remorse and she'll own that, but it just feels like we're really trying to paint Candice as a victim when I think the footage tonight and the way that it was cut and slowed down and broken up for all of us shows that Candice she wasn't as much of she was a victim of Monique assaulting her physically, but she wasn't as much of a victim in the altercation as I think she and all the other women want to believe that she is. And I think this is where Karen comes in and she really is looking at both sides of it. And I can understand why Karen and Ashley are very much like not trying to not pick a side. I mean, I think Ashley's definitely picked a side, but I think Karen is like in the middle and she's trying to be like, I understand all of it. This is why when, you know, Eric J. Mack and Megan Segura were on the show a couple weeks ago and they were talking about the altercation, they were like, we're very much team, or we're team Karen because we understand her side of it because you really look at it from both angles. And I don't think Monique or Candice are willing to listen to each other. But watching this past reunion, I was just like, wow, like Andy clearly has picked a side. I think the heat he's getting on Twitter is warranted because I almost tweeted and I was like, whoa, Andy, it definitely looks like you're a little biased here. And we can definitely tell which side of it the not the producers, the editors are on because they definitely edited everything and broke up all the footage, probably because at this point they've heard everything. They've had to edit all the interviews. They've had to watch all the women's statements. They've had to watch the altercation over and over and over because that's what it takes when you edit something. So I think at this point they know what's up. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of Andy Cohen this reunion. I do feel for Candice, but I am looking forward to seeing what transpires next week when the husbands come out and the women have more to say. I thought Gizelle was definitely queen of deflection. She keeps saying that like Monique is the one who's the queen of deflection. I think Monique is at this point like mic drop gangster. Like I don't give a shit. If I'm gonna be fired, then I'm at least gonna go out with a bang. Like you're either gonna ask me back or you're not gonna ask me back. But like at this point, I'm doing me and like I'm going hard. And I'm just like, at this point, like, what has she got to lose? Like, if she's already going to be fired, she's already going to be fired. Or if she's going to come back, like, at this point, I think bring the receipt. But we are living for the binder right now. The binder is gave us life. I don't know how much more of I don't think we're going to get much more of the binder. I think it's given us enough already, but TBD. We shall see. But so in response to last week's reunion, where she brought up the allegations about Jamal cheating, Jamal then went on, I think it was Instagram Live, and he was like, yo, homie, hold up. Wait a minute. I ain't got a mistress. I was actually single. And I am single. He alluded that he was single. Like the hard part is you watch the footage from the past season of Potomac and you're just like, okay, he seems like he's actually in this and he wants to work on things with Gizelle. But then afterwards, he says that these text messages were from some woman that he happened to be dating and things didn't work out. And he's allowed to date women because he's technically single. And it's like, well, are you single or are you trying to work on things with Gizelle? But they never really say that they're in a relationship. They say that they're working on things. They say that they're, trying to make things work. They're trying to make things better. And I think in Gizelle's head, trying to work on things means we're somewhat committed to each other. But I think in Jamal's head, trying to work on things means we're trying to have a better relationship, but I'm still technically single. So I'm still allowed to sleep with other people. And he even said that, like, he called Monique thirsty and tried to say that, like, she was reaching for straws because, he is free to do whatever he wants. He blamed it on reality TV. He blamed it on the editing. But, like, you agreed to sign up to this. You agreed, or you led Gizelle on. Like, this is the thing that makes me crazy, is that guys love to do this. I went through this. I had a friend that went through this just this past week, is these guys love to tell you the things that you want to hear. Whatever their agenda is, I personally think it's like an ego agenda where they're just like, this feels good because I have your attention, whether I'm having sex with you or not having sex with you, you're still you're still stroking my ego. Whether you're stroking my dick or stroking my ego doesn't really matter. You're stroking something and it makes me happy. And I think Jamal likes that Gizelle was definitely willing to stroke his ego and probably stroke his dick. And he was very happy about that. And so I think these guys, like just men in general, need to just be honest, because what they do is they lead you on and they're just like, this is what I want. This is what we can work towards. And they lead you to believe what they're saying, and they don't stop you if you get a little ahead of yourself. They actually are just like, well, you know, you're getting a little ahead of yourself, but I'm not going to say anything. That's just you. And then when you get too far ahead of yourself, then they're like, whoa, 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 hold up, wait a minute, you're crazy. And then it's just like, what? I'm crazy? And this is where I think Gizelle looks a little dumb, is it looks like she's crazy because it looks like she's trying to make something work that isn't actually going to work. And in his head, he's just like, well, I mean, I said we were working on things, but like, what does that really mean? It's like Ross and Rachel, are we on a break? What does that mean? It's like that we haven't clearly defined the definitions of everything. We don't know the boundaries. We don't know the parameters. We need to be on the same page. We need to have the bullet points outlined. Men need bullet points outlined. I am a man. I have man brain. I have a penis. I'm telling you right now, men need it to be clear. There needs to be a bullet point columned list, and every bullet point needs to be very clearly defined as to what's allowed and what's not allowed. Because as we can see, Jamal is over here swinging his big D all around Atlanta, while Gizelle is actually thinking that there's a chance here and that there's hope that they can get back together. And I think Giselle's looking real stupid. But she just did another interview recently with, I believe it was the Daily Mail, where she said that they're fine. So we're fine. Jamal and I are fine. But again, what does fine mean? Does fine mean we're okay, we're friends, we're co-parenting, we're okay, we're working on having a good relationship as parents or as a family unit? Does fine mean we are dating again? Does fine mean I'm going to be, you know, pastor's wife and I'm going to be moving to Atlanta? Like, what does that mean? I don't think we know what that means, because I don't think Gizelle knows what that means. I think she just thinks, I'm okay and I'm happy now, and Jamal is okay and he's happy now, and we're all just like, we're good. But it's like, you need to go to therapy. You need to have some couples counseling, because Jamal is just going to keep fooling around as long as he gets to fool around.